My brother Kirk was more than my big brother. He was my best friend. I will never forget the day he passed from an opioid overdose. My father called me 3 times in the morning at 5:30 a.m. When I picked up the phone, I heard noises I wish I could forget. The wailing of my mother sounded like a victim being tortured. My father told me to sit up tall and take a deep breath. My brother was no longer with us. I crumbled to the floor. At that moment, I entered a nightmare that I nor my family could wake up from. My brother was gone. He was only 26. My dad found his cold blue corpse in the laundry room. My dad screamed to my mom to call 911 while he started CPR. My mother watched a defibrillator strapped to her son's chest, but with no response. My parents rode in the ambulance with hope and left ruined. Days before, Kirk had just rewritten his resume, his goals, and started an application to resume law school. He passed away the day before his rehab started. How did this happen? There isn't an emotion I could possibly explain. All I could tell you is my world crumbled. That day I lost a piece of me, and my family lost its will to live. I remember staying in my parents' room and watching their chests rise and fall out of fear they would kill themselves from grief. No parent should lose a child. I would lose days hugging my brother's clothes in his closet. I remember having to call his best friends and shatter their hearts with the news of his passing. I reached such a level of sadness that I didn't know when I was crying or asleep as they blended. Every holiday, all that is left is the silence of our tears striking Kirk's favorite dish. I could try to explain how every life event is overshadowed with sadness and how I never feel complete. I could tell you about the nieces and nephews my brother will never get to know, or the empty chair at my wedding one day. But even if I explained this to you, how could you understand how opioids have changed my family's life? I want to rewind because I need to say a few words about my brother. Kirk William Schwartz was an incredible human. He was a friend to anyone who asked, and his hugs could elevate your mood and take away your insecurities, anxiety, and fear. He was the most genuine and funniest person I have ever met. He was incredibly intelligent. Perhaps that's what led him down his battle with opioid use disorder. He barely had to try in his classes to get straight A's, which ultimately led him to have free time in high school, where he got involved in the wrong crowd. What started with prescription opioids led to heroin and one day fentanyl. He was able to use functionally, such so that he graduated college with honors and excelled in law school. He wanted to have control of his life more than anything in this world. As such, he left his life, his friends, his degree, his everything to move to another state and start over. Unfortunately, giving up everything wasn't enough for him, nor is enough for many Americans. In 2019, only 10.3% of individuals 12 or older with a substance use disorder received any substance use treatment in the United States. For my brother's story, rehab was expensive, and he needed to wait months until insurance could kick in. The day before his rehab started is when he died. My brother was one of 42,249 individuals who passed from an opioid overdose in 2016. 136 people die every day from an opioid overdose. There are a few important things I want people to know that Kirk shared with me. He would tell me there wasn't a night he didn't dream about heroin after he had it the first time. He hated himself for using. He felt trapped in that he was lighting a flame that was burning him. He could see his health declining, but couldn't help himself. He felt he would never be free of the chains of addiction. I want you to imagine how that must feel. The shame, the self-hatred, the hopelessness, and the fear of substance use disorders. My brother always told me, "You're my little sister, but I look up to you." That's the reason I'm putting this story together. My brother would advocate, but he can't. He deserved more than 26 years of life. Our nation deserves more. Join together to realize that people with substance use disorders are already stigmatizing themselves. So please don't add to their own stigma, shame, and self-hatred. Instead of judging and pointing fingers, try to offer compassion and love. Go get a Narcan or naloxone training. This would have saved my brother's life. You never know when it will be your turn to be a hero. Visit the link below to learn about relevant resources, signs of an opioid overdose, and local options to make a difference. In loving memory, Kirk William Schwartz, gone too soon, but forever in our hearts.